If you are not yet a member of the Patreon, link is in the description. Please consider becoming a member, as you will have access to many videos you cannot find here on YouTube.
Oh yeah, Diddy got a podcast.
One of the biggest trending events of the past week has been the roasting of Kevin Hart. Some people were upset because of the George Floyd joke that came from Tony Hinchcliffe.
Like Bill Cosby, Hart is a black comedian from Philadelphia, and like Bill Cosby, women don't know when Kevin is inside of them. You've done good though, Kevin. The black community is so proud of you right now. George Floyd is looking up at us all, laughing so hard that he can't breathe.
I personally saw nothing wrong with it. All is fair game and comedy for the most part. Some were even upset with Pete Davidson's joke about Charlie Kirk.
Tony reminds me of Charlie Kirk, in that he's definitely been on camera letting a guy you know what I mean? Yeah.
But once again, I'm fair across the board. I saw nothing wrong with it. It's just a joke. But the biggest news surrounding the event would definitely have to be the surprise of the night, Katt Williams. It has been long documented over the years that Katt Williams does not like Kevin Hart, and even exposed Kevin Hart a couple of years back during his viral Shannon Sharpe interview. But as I've stated before, no one gets to be a part of the industry, expose the industry, and actually live or survive to grow bigger in the industry, watch their brand grow in the industry. We have a long list of people that have actually tried to do that in the past, and we've seen what's happened to those people. And in today's video, we're going to not only once again expose Katt Williams, but also some of the biggest red flags from his Kevin Hart roasting event attendance. Welcome back to another episode of Diddy Got a Podcast, and of course, I'm your host, Diddy. I appreciate you all for tuning in as always. Please hit the like button, as that will help the video get pushed into the algorithm. I really appreciate it. And with that, let's get into today's video. The Drake and Kendrick Lamar battle is a great example of how beef is manufactured and orchestrated by the higher-ups for entertainment. The record label was 100% behind that beef to generate more money, controversy, and sales. Now, let me explain what I mean when I say that the beef was orchestrated or manufactured by the record labels. Am I arguing that Kendrick Lamar does not like Drake? No, I'm not arguing that. I genuinely believe he do not like Drake. I genuinely believe that they do not mesh well. But what the record labels do, just like it happens in Hollywood, like we're about to speak about with Katt Williams and Kevin Hart, they'll take a situation and then they'll blow it up or create more narratives so that they can generate more attention, garner more views, and in the end, more money. But the bigger question is, how was Kendrick Lamar able to generate such an airtight battle? In other words, how was he able to orchestrate these songs and have them queued up to go when Drake and Kendrick Lamar are signed to Universal Music Group? That being, somebody in the record label world could have gave Drake a heads up one way or the other that these songs or some sort of rollout was coming, but nobody did that. Why? Because I think they were able to successfully, and by they, I mean the record label was able to successfully achieve at least a couple of things by pulling this off. One, Kendrick Lamar had just dropped Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, a quote-unquote personal album. It went number one, but despite the fact it went number one, the album almost came and went. A lot of people didn't really talk about it. It wasn't really that mainstream, even though Kendrick Lamar had sort of rebranded himself with the blasphemous crown on his head as if he's Jesus. So it was almost as if Kendrick was sort of fading away into the background because he only drops an album like every 4 to 5 years or something. Something else to consider is that Drake was up for a new deal worth hundreds of millions of dollars. If you are able to revamp Kendrick Lamar's career into the mainstream again, while also damaging Drake's stock and momentum in the music industry, so that way he has less leverage or negotiating power when it comes to his new deal, you could kill two birds with one stone by pushing this beef. So in my opinion, they all conspired against the guy. Now, so that nobody's confused about anything, I believe that Kendrick Lamar absolutely wiped the floor with Drake. Drake fought back, but Kendrick Lamar, in my opinion, had the greatest rap performance in a beef that I've ever seen in hip-hop history. Just for the record, I think Euphoria is a masterclass in lyricism and dissecting not only a person, another human being, but also the character or the artist that they've created or the brand that they've created for themselves. It's another thing that I've never seen before from another world. But that don't mean two things can be true at the same time. Well, the same thing applies to Katt Williams. And just like Kendrick Lamar, I believe they are both Saturn worshipers like others in the industry. And I've exposed Kendrick Lamar several times on this channel. But let's focus on Katt Williams for this video, though. And before we actually get into the roast of Kevin Hart event that Katt Williams attended, before we speak about the red flags pertaining to Katt Williams in that event, let's sort of go through all the red flags about Katt Williams. If you haven't seen my previous videos on Katt Williams, let's just go through sort of a quick run through of all the things that you probably want to know about Katt Williams. Number one, which is the most obvious, he's literally a part and always been a part and hasn't left the same industry he is claiming to expose. His viral interview with Shannon Sharpe is filled with many truths, many lies, half truths, double standards, and even him accidentally exposing himself. Not to mention that things have only gotten better for him since quote unquote exposed in Hollywood. That never happens. For example, he's had Netflix specials, been named Man of the Year by GQ. All the major outlets covered his Shannon Sharpe interview to help generate more buzz instead of actually ignoring him like they usually do to actual enemies of the system. Katt Williams does the one-eye symbolism just like the rest of the industry, down to the person Katt Williams decided to conduct the interview with was even strategic, as we have discussed Shannon Sharpe on his channel and Patreon several times. Not to mention the Masonic Boule handshake they gave at the end of the interview, and then within the actual interview, Katt Williams admitting to attending an Illuminati-like meeting with Ludacris, stating that he was offered to wear a dress alongside Martin Lawrence only to turn it down out of integrity for himself, just to then offer that same role to another black man who is the same man that will later say wearing that dress ruined his career and his life. But speaking of dresses, this is the same Katt Williams that stated in this interview that he knew for a fact that Kevin Hart was an industry plant for several reasons. One being because he wore a dress after he stated he would never do that. But then he only praised Dave Chappelle in this same interview, who he forgot to mention also wore a dress multiple times in his career. Not to mention Dave Chappelle has also once again joined Hollywood to accept $50 million deals, the same number he walked away from decades ago. Well, he's come back to Netflix to work with a lot of those same people because, make no mistake, Netflix is a part of Hollywood. He's accepting the same $50 million deals through Netflix, despite many people not knowing either of these things or making these connections about Dave Chappelle. Another suspicious thing about Katt is that after all of this success, following his Shannon Sharpe interview, which is already suspicious enough, there was a suspicious death tied to him that actually happened last year when a man named Reggie Carroll, who was close to Katt Williams, lost his life under strange circumstances at one of Katt Williams' residence in South Haven, Mississippi. And I've covered all of these things and more in great detail on Patreon and here on YouTube, including the meaning behind the necklace that Katt Williams has been wearing. Please feel free to check those out when you get a chance. Links are in the description. Now let's discuss the roasting Kevin Hart event. The first thing I noticed is that, Katt Williams was even there to begin with. Why would they invite Katt Williams to an event full of industry puppets and industry insiders? And why would Katt Williams even agree to come? According to Katt Williams, he only attended because of the money. But isn't that kind of what you've been clowning Kevin Hart and others for doing? Doing things you wouldn't normally do or don't really want to do to attain money. He also decided to expose certain things about Kevin Hart to his face, but the issue is that some of the things he said about Kevin Hart literally applies to Katt Williams himself. For example, he accused Kevin Hart of being Netflix's sweetheart industry plant when Katt Williams himself, as we've already stated early in this video, has multiple comedy specials himself as well. I also noticed that the goat imagery that was shown in the background, there was two goats on both sides, and this is not a coincidence, as I've spoken multiple times before on this channel and on Patreon in greater detail about how, first and foremost, the term goat, you the goat, bro. They've normalized this term goat for multiple different reasons. It has double meanings, as it shouldn't take much for people to understand that it is tied to the Baphomet, but it gets a little bit deeper than just the Baphomet. That would explain why they had two goats on both sides. Not because Kevin Hart is a goat, not because Katt Williams is a goat. It's duality, which is all Freemasonic in nature. And ironically, the most or the biggest series we've ever discussed the whole GOAT idea in great detail would actually have to be the Shannon Sharpe series on Patreon. I also noticed that Katt Williams is wearing what I'm going to call the Saturn hat. It is something celebrities do to symbolically venerate Saturn, which in a roundabout way is Satan, the Baphomet, Egyptian gods, lowercase g that is, allegedly. This is something that you will see in Hollywood a lot. And you'll also notice with this quote-unquote Saturn hat that Katt Williams strategically wore, majority of his speech the hat is hovering over just one of his eyes with a shadow over one of his eyes. Typically, you will see this in photo shoots with different celebrities, and a lot of people will miss it because they think it's innocent. They're like, well, it's just a regular picture and it's just an accident, or they're just being creative. This is, artistry, when we know that it's a lot deeper than that. It's not a coincidence. First and foremost, it has to be super uncomfortable to be sitting up there with one of your eyes like covered in, shadow over your eye. Don't you want to just move that from your, so that you can see clearly? It's strategic. All of that stuff are people in the know communicating to one another who they are, what they represent, and what the whole meaning of the speech was really about. So don't let that go unnoticed, because that is not an accident by any means. Not to mention that the hug and handshake that Kevin Hart and Katt Williams did at the end was not a normal handshake either, just like the handshake with Shannon Sharp, as I believe these people are in the boule, allegedly. So in the end, Katt Williams is a part of the same industry or the same club that he pretends to be against. The proof is in the pudding. The biggest reason why people speak about Kendrick Lamar today is related and tied to the beef with Drake. It's not because of his incredible bodies of work, which he has some incredible bodies of work. It's not because of his incredible lyricism. Yes, Kendrick Lamar is one of the greatest lyricists of all time. We all know that. And he has the bodies of work to match that incredible lyricism, which don't always happen with the same artist. But what do most people know him for? What do most people want to hear from Kendrick Lamar? They're looking for that Drake diss. They're looking for that Drake reference, that beef reference. This is one of the many things that's ruined hip hop. Beef in itself, competitiveness in itself hasn't necessarily ruined hip hop, but this toxic new version of what it's become, especially what we saw between Drake and Kendrick Lamar, has ruined the sport of hip hop, has ruined the artistry of hip hop. Anybody that says otherwise, they're lying, because people are even struggling to just hear good music from these artists now because everything is compared to a beef. Katt Williams, same thing applies to him. What is the number one reason people want to hear from Katt? Do people love Katt primarily because of his incredible stand-up comedies? And I'm talking about the masses. No. Are there people that love him for that? Sure. There's people that love Kendrick Lamar for his bodies of work and his lyricism. But I'm talking about in the mainstream. When we hear Katt Williams' name, now we're just thinking, who is he going to expose next? Is he still beefing with Kevin Hart? It's not because of your favorite stand-up comedy. In my opinion, Katt Williams hasn't been funny to me in years. Does he have some funny jokes here and there? Sure. But I think he's the funniest probably when he's roasting people. My favorite stand-up from him is probably the most people's favorite, and it's the one from the Pimp Chronicles. Not a fan of him pushing the whole pimp message, which he tends to do in his movies, which is no better than a man wearing a dress, because you're still pushing things that are demoralizing and destructive to the community, but I digress. But that's my favorite stand-up. That's one of the very few times, the last times I found him actually funny, objectively speaking. Some of you all may disagree with that. His more recent work, just like Kevin Hart's more recent work, I don't find them funny. So that's pretty much my thoughts on this, man. Y'all hop in the comment section and let me know what you all think. What are your thoughts? Did you watch the roast of Kevin Hart? Did you like it? Did you believe it was corny? Did you think that people went too far? Were you surprised to see Katt Williams? What are your thoughts on that, man? Hop in the comment section, give me your thoughts. I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.